Hi, room 7 and room 13. Okay, today's our 17th reading from Pippi Longstockings by Astrid Lindgren. 17th reading. Oh my goodness. And we are going to finish up the chapter that we started yesterday. Oh yes, chapter 10. Pippi acts as a lifesaver. So we're finishing up that chapter. You know, that kind of gives us a clue, the chapter title, as to what's going to happen in this chapter. Where did we leave off? There was a fire. Pippi had thrown a rope over the tree and Mr. Nielsen had taken it up the tree, right? Because it was attached to his tail. Oh my goodness, and we did leave off in a very intense moment. Are the kids going to be rescued? What's Pippi going to do? Okay, shall we get to it and read? Let's find out. Now, let's see. The fire burned. The children in the window screamed. The people in the square cried. Pippi jumped off the horse and went up to the tree. Then she took the rope and tied it tightly to Mr. Nielsen's tail. "Now you be Pippi's good boy," she said. She put him on the tree trunk, gave him a little push. He understood perfectly what he was supposed to do, and he climbed obediently up the tree trunk. Of course, it was no trouble at all for a little monkey to do that. The people in the square held their breath and watched Mr. Nielsen. Soon he had reached the top of the tree. There he sat on a branch and looked down at Pippi. She waved to him to come down again, and he did so at once, climbing down the other side of the branch, so that when he reached the ground, the rope was looped over the branch and hung down double with both ends on the ground. "Good for you, Mr. Nielsen," said Pippi. "You're so smart. You could be a professor, a teacher, any time you wish." She untied the knot that had fastened the rope to Mr. Nielsen's tail. Nearby, a house was being repaired, and Pippi ran over and got a long board. She took the board in one hand, ran to the tree, grasped the rope in the other free hand, and braced her feet against the trunk of the tree. Quickly and nimbly, she climbed up the trunk. The people stopped crying in amazement. When she reached the top of the tree, she placed the board over a strong branch and then carefully pushed the board over to the windowsill. And there lay the board like a bridge between the top of the tree and the window. The people down in the square stood absolutely silent. They were so tense they couldn't say a word. Pippi stepped out on the board. She smiled pleasantly at the two boys in the window. "Why do you look so sad?" she asked. "Have you got a stomach ache?" Pippi. She ran across the board, hopped into the window. "Oh my, it seems warm in here," she said. "You don't need to make any more fire in here. Understand? I can guarantee it is warm enough. And she's being silly still. She says, "And at the most, put only 4 logs on the fire tomorrow. I should think you have quite enough." Then she took one boy under each arm and stepped out onto the board again. "Now you're really going to have some fun," she said. "It's almost like walking on a tightrope." Leave it to Pippi to make an adventure out of a house on fire. When she got to the middle of the board, she lifted one leg in the air, and just as she had done at the circus, the crowd below gasped, and when a little later Pippi lost one of her shoes, several old ladies fainted. However, Pippi reached the tree safely with the little boys. Then the crowd cheered so loudly that the dark night was filled with noise, and the sound drowned out the crackling of the fire. Pippi hauled up the rope, fastened one end securely to a branch, and tied the other one around one of the boys. Then she let him down slowly and carefully into the arms of his waiting mother, who was beside herself with joy when she had him safe. She held him close and hugged him with tears in her eyes. But Pippi yelled, "Untie the rope, for goodness sake! There's another kid up there, and he can't fly either." So the people helped untie the rope and free the little boy. Pippi could tie good knots, so she could indeed. She had learned that at sea. She pulled up the rope again, and now it was the second boy's turn to be let down. I don't think anyone predicted that that's how she was going to rescue the boys. Now Pippi was alone in the tree. She sprang out on the board, and all the people looked at her and wondered what she was going to do. She danced back and forth on the narrow board. She raised and lowered her arms gracefully and sang in a hoarse voice that could barely be heard down in the square. You can put your own tune to this. "The fire is burning, it's burning so bright. The flames are leaping and prancing. It's burning for you, it's burning for me. It's burning for all who are dancing." As she sang, she danced more and more wildly until many people covered their eyes in horror, for they were sure she would fall down and hurt herself. Now flames kept leaping out of the windows, and in the firelight people could see Pippi plainly. She raised her arms to the night sky, and while a shower of sparks fell over her, she cried loudly, "Oh, such a jolly fire indeed." She took one leap and caught the rope. "Look out!" she cried, and same sliding down the rope like greased lightning. I have to read that again. She took one leap and caught the rope. "Look out!" she cried, and came sliding down the rope like greased lightning. "3 cheers for Pippi Longstocking! Long may she live!" cried the fire chief. "Hip, hip, hooray! Hip, hip, hooray!" cried all the people 3 times. But there was one person there who cheered 4 times. Pippi Longstockings. So she cheered for herself. Oh, Pippi. Okay, guys, that's the end of chapter 10. And I believe chapter 11 is actually, chapter 11 is a long chapter, but it is the last chapter, okay? So we'll start that tomorrow, and chapter 11 is called Pippi Celebrates Her Birthday. I'm excited for that. Okay, guys, bye.